This was a lot better than watching the State of the Union. Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music and our favorite artist discographies. I'm Troy Sennett.
And I'm Matt Kistler.
And today we are continuing our series on R&B star Janelle Monáe and her Metropolis series of albums that sort of kicked off her career with her second proper album, her third in our series, if you're counting her demo record. This album is called The Electric Lady, came out September 6th, 2013. Like all of her stuff is produced by her compatriots in the Wonderland Arts Society, Roman Jean Arthur and Chuck Lightning and Nate Wonder, and herself as well. Released in conjunction with Bad Boy Entertainment and the partnership that Wonderland Arts Society had with them. And this is sort of her next step up into trying to make what she considers a great classic R&B record after the sort of creative achievements and somewhat modest commercial success of the ArchAndroid. Matt, what do you think of this album? Did you have any history with it?
I had a little bit. I don't know what it was, but I definitely listened to this album back in 2013 when it came out, and like I know the singles stood out to me a little bit, but I just like it didn't stick with me for some reason, which seems really wild in retrospect because like coming back to this now, like this record is, I think in a lot of ways like more cohesive than the ArchAndroid was. Has just like a lot of propulsion through it, is like maybe hinging a little less on like a concrete story and a little more on like kind of focusing on the intersection of Janelle Monáe, the person, and Sydney Mayweather, the character, and also Janelle Monáe, the character in the fiction of the Metropolis suites. And yeah, I don't know. Like I feel a lot more of a connection with this album this time around. So I'm excited to talk about it. What about you?
Yeah, I agree that it feels a little more cohesive while also still exploring a lot of different genres and sounds and ideas. But the thing that struck me about this record is that it is the Cindy stuff, the Metropolis stuff, the story trappings seem a little more incidental, a little less necessary to understanding the record. And
yes.
This feels like it certainly has references to Metropolis, to her kind of overall vision of the story, but it is really, and if I heard this record just kind of on its own, I would not think of it as, oh, that's a sci-fi concept record. This is very clearly a record about empowering women and about, expressing yourself and the idea of being a confident person living loudly, and in the idea of this image of the Electric Lady is, well, it has some sci-fi sort of references built into it, and you can hear how she's using the genre stuff to sort of build up this image, but it feels like a very personal record for her. And obviously I think ArchAndroid was too. I don't want to diminish that, but this feels like an album that is about the here and now, about the Janelle Monáe who exists in this world as much as it is about any other persona that she might have.
Yeah, we're not drawing comparisons to the future that exists in the fiction so much as we are just drawing on, yeah, like you said, drawing on the here and now for our inspiration here. I feel like most of the Metropolis aesthetic lives in the kind of extra textual stuff, the music videos, the promotional materials, the artwork. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think that it works because she explicitly says this is a prequel to the ArchAndroid. This is the story of Cindy sort of discovering herself and becoming really conscious of herself and trying to grow in a, like, personally in a very human way. while, I mean, still feeling like an outsider in many ways, still feeling like an other in many ways. And in some ways, I'm like, that feels strange to just jump back in time and do a prequel. But I think, it seems necessary to like a necessary narrative move in order to express the stuff that Janelle Monáe is working at on this album.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of the story, like the liner notes for this, they similar to ArchAndroid, there's a note or a letter from Max, this Max Stellings of the Palace of the Dog Arts Asylum, which says that Janelle Monáe has escaped the asylum and conveyed these recordings, these secret compositions to her by Hawk, like Hawk Messenger, I think it says.
Right. There's so many fun parentheticals in that note. Please don't ask. She, and apparently these are compositions that the Cindy Mayweather sent back in time to Janelle Monáe. It's all that kind of stuff. But the thing that's kind of interesting is it seems like she has fully convinced this Stellings character that she is right, that she is, that this music is worth sharing, and that these, the songs are, what does it say? Every one of us that hears and loves and shares these songs is truly already at war, fighting for the freedom of a future age, which is like a grand statement that does feel like of a piece with everything else on the album. Definitely, yeah. Well, and like in the middle of this note, he gets like the kind of sinister computer screen message that is, directly panning, like putting out like the thing that kind of also exists in the music videos here, where like this music is banned because it has ungoodly messages, as I believe the phrasing that they use. It's really cool. I really love that kind of framing for this record, even though like we've already said, this feels in many ways like you could disconnect it from the story and not a ton would be lost.
Yeah, and because what she talks about in all the interviews is that the idea of this record, this image of the Electric Lady, is a thing on the ArchAndroid tour she would paint on stage during Mushrooms and Roses, and she just started painting the same sort of image every night of the sort of silhouette of a female figure, and started calling the series the Electric Lady, and where she says, I wanted to think of a world where there were more electric ladies, a new breed of women. I wanted to do something that was empowering to women, create an album that deals with this concept of the electric lady in a world where these electric ladies were realizing their superpowers and doing self-realization into self-actualization and nurturing the community through their gifts and their unique perspective on life, is what she says in one interview. And I mean, that's the crux of this record, not Cindy Mayweather or Metropolis or anything like that. It is an album about how great women can be.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also noteworthy that she mentions in that Pitchfork feature, or rather, she mentions at a party that the person who wrote the Pitchfork feature was at, that the name the Electric Lady came to her in therapy, which she talks a little bit about, like how she really wanted to like be this person who can handle everything, and she specifically says to the point of like, here's why I went to therapy. It was like I had a computer virus in my brain and it needed to be fixed, which is obviously in line with kind of what we're presented with here in the fiction, but it's also like it comes right alongside the kind of idea of self-actualization, self-empowerment is seeking help in others who have the ability to help you in that way.
Yeah, and I like that it feels like she is, throughout that Pitchfork feature, has somewhat of a handle on this idea that she could maybe have been too controlling in the past or whatever, but also still really thinks of herself as a visionary and is drawn to visionary people and with big grand ideas and wanting to execute them in a way that is singular and memorable. And she probably still does feel like she knows like the truest way to express what she wants to express and the best way to do it. And I gotta imagine that's like a challenging place to be in, and to try to like work through that while still, being the head of this, the giant conglomerate that is required to release an album like this on a major label.
Yeah, for sure. And she kind of mentions in I think in that same interview, meeting the Deep Cotton guys when they were at in college, and like kind of explicitly saying like these were some of the first like peers that I met who were as like I guess visionary as I felt I was, or something along those lines. I don't have the direct quote in here, but
yeah, she says they wanted to start a revolution and redefine music.
Yeah, exactly. Big ideas there.
Right. And like she talks a lot in these interviews about, she was pretty maybe bored or dissatisfied with where R&B was as a genre, and she wanted to make a record that sounded classic. She didn't want to make beats. She wanted to have a band. She wanted to make a music that people could pass down to their children that would stand the test of time, which I think is what all artists should strive for.
Sure, yeah.
But I think it's cool that she is really thinking about that in every aspect of putting her album together, from the music to the artwork to the presentation to the clothes she wears and what they say about her about her persona, her attitude. And I don't know, it's one of the things that I'm most like having the most fun with as I'm immersing myself in these interviews with her and her music is how it feels like all aspects of her life are tied to or are contributing to the presentation of the music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. Yeah, it's a tough order to fill to set out to create a classic album, and I think drawing from the pool of artists for inspiration that she does, she mentions folks like Bo Diddley, she brings up Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, Elvis Presley, Prince obviously, who is notably featured on this record. I didn't realize that when she played the BET Awards that he like called up the head of the BET programming and was like, you need to have her on, and he listened, obviously, because when Prince calls you, you do whatever he asks you to do.
Right, yeah.
But I did find it very it was kind of an interesting thing to like realize like the kind of position that Janelle's at this point in their career, which is like very clearly like recognized by peers as this innovator, this person who's going to be important, is already important, honestly, but maybe hasn't been recognized by the broader public yet because she wasn't already on the BET Awards prior to Prince making that phone call. So like it's an odd place to be, but like clearly like the right people have faith in her, and for good reason, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, she's a true artist at this point in her career.
Oh yeah.
And up through this entire cycle of this record, I mean, she doesn't have a charting hit, until after until Yoga, which is we'll talk about later because I'm sort of lumping it in with the sort of B-sides and additional tracks around this part of her career. But none of the singles from this record or ArchAndroid really made an impact on radio or anything. I mean, Tightrope goes gold, I think, much later. Just from after she has success other way, later on in her career. But up to this point, she is like you said, she is kind of on the edge of mainstream. There's a quote in, I think it's in the Pitchfork article, that I thought was so interesting. That it said, it's sometimes easier to like the idea of her, a whirling, twirling, fantastical funk robot in a tux, a young woman who runs her own creative tight ship, than it is to forge a natural connection with her music and her persona. And to me, that is the mark of an artist, that someone who is, you can recognize the genius, even if they might not be super palatable to the general public, to the radio, to everyone else out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I've mentioned this before, but I remember being surprised to realize that she was by the time We Are Young came around, that she wasn't already mega famous. And like it is still a little baffling to me, but like given that context, it's a little less surprising.
Yeah, it's kind of. I'm also kind of just interested in this idea that she is like sort of not fighting back, but she's wants to create like the catchiest music ever made, to the point of like she would just take her demos to strip clubs to see what people would actually dance to. She would, stuff like that to try to make this music that has like a real impact in the world, while at the same time recognizing that she has this kind of, I don't want to say off-putting, but like challenging personality on her own. It's just an interesting juxtaposition of ideas.
I mean, mainstream attention is a tough thing to futz with,
right.
And like, yeah, and obviously she captures it later on with Yoga, which we'll talk about, and then on an album proper with Dirty Computer, which we'll talk about next week. But yeah, I don't know. It is wild to kind of look at this album and how accomplished it is, and same with the ArchAndroid in a lot of ways. And just imagine just a broader public not really caring about it. But like that, again, that happens all the time with, many artists. They're just not quite as on the cusp of fame as Janelle is at this point in their career.
Right. All right. Should we get into the songs?
Yeah, let's do it.
So this album starts off with, once again, divided into two suites in the Metropolis saga, Suite 4 and Suite 5. And this starts with Suite 4, the Electric Overture, a piece that is inspired by, from reading from the liner notes, inspired by the idea of Ennio Morricone playing cards with Duke Ellington, which is a great image and very fitting since it does feel a little bit Western. Almost, like the soundtrack to some kind of revisionist Western movie that Morricone himself might have scored. And pulling elements from across the album. But I think it is a different way to start this record tonally than the previous overtures.
Yeah, this really, like, it has a lot of the orchestral pomp of the overtures on the ArchAndroid, but like I feel like it weaves into this album a lot more smoothly. I feel like the other overture on this record is similar in a lot of ways, but we'll get to that a little later.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tone setting. The one thing I think is kind of interesting is that the overtures, the interludes and stuff on this record, it feels like Janelle took a bit of a back seat on those, and that they are, I think this one she has a writing credit on this one, but I think it's because there's actually a couple of lyrics and stuff in this. But the other overtures and stuff are purely credited to Chuck Lightning and Roman Gianarthur. It made me wonder after reading the Pitchfork piece if that was part of the sort of coming to terms with the control aspect of her life of really ceding these interludes to her creative partners.
Yeah, and like with the interviews that we were talking about last week, like it did feel like those were like not necessarily made in isolation, because like they did draw direct influence from the songs on the ArchAndroid. They did feel like they were kind of created outside of the Janelle sphere in a way.
So then the first sort of true song on the album is Giving Them What They Love, which is this very bold statement of confidence and intent, kind of the exact way that makes sense to start off a record like this, and featuring none other than Prince coming in on the second verse, and I think probably working on the song in general. This is a pretty rockin', stomping R&B song, once again starting a record by doing something that she has never really done before, which rocks.
Yeah, it is a real bold statement, and I absolutely love it. Like, obviously, if you can get Prince on your record, you put him right up front and center, and that was the right choice here.
Yeah, I mean, and it sounds like he has been kind of a believer in, a follower of her career from very early on, from the Chase Suite days, from what I saw in some other interviews. And yeah, I mean, they work so well together on the song, and this idea that their lyrics kind of reflect each other. This idea of like, I'm sharper than a razor, I'm sharper than a switchblade, and this idea of like I know what you want and I'm going to give it to you and you're going to love it. This confidence it feels like a thing that they both exude in their performances.
Yeah, it is, and like the writing on those verses just feels like a real moment of, we get each other. We both see the vision here, even if we're approaching it from like slightly different angles because we're two different people. Like that is and honestly, that's a rare thing with features in general. Like I encounter a lot of songs where, you know, somebody takes a verse and it just kind of sounds like they were given the title of a song and like told, I don't know, just write something, or like a half-finished version of a song. This is like, these two are working in lockstep to create something that is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, absolutely. I like there's a line in the first verse, they want me locked up in the system because I'm on a mission, blame it on my youth, which was like, oh, I never actually really thought about how young she was, because she's still only like 26 or something when she's making this record.
It's absurd, honestly.
Yeah, and is already, a handful of years into her, no, even more. She's 10 years or so into her career and is, young and still does not feel like she is burned out by the world yet, which is impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Next up is Queen, the album's first single, and this groovy synthy tune literally about dancing in a way that makes people think that you're a freak, but absolutely owning it and loving yourself in spite of the way that people think of you, which feels like the sort of mission statement of the album. Yeah,
this song is definitely like a centerpiece in a lot of ways. With Prince kind of being the lightning introduction to the album, this feels like it is in a way a thesis statement for kind of the general mood and attitude of the rest of the record. I kind of forgot the Janelle Monáe kind of timeline, and I didn't realize how long this was released. This record in general, but this song in particular, was released before she came out as bisexual / pansexual. Because this song really seems to be about that, in addition to, I think, at least two other songs on this record. I mean, Queen is an acronym. I'm not going to go through the whole acronym because one of these words is definitely a slur, and I'm not doing that. But like the Q stands for queer. Like, so we're talking about marginalized communities here. That, with queer folks at the forefront, it was surprising to me that she hadn't like been out yet, especially given the lyrics of this song. But this song bangs. I absolutely love the guitar line on this song. It is I can only describe it as sleazy, but in a really great way. Yeah, it is stuck in my head constantly, and I listened to a couple of the remixes of this song and was very sad to find that most of them fully abandoned that guitar line.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's, in some of the interviews around this record, she gets straight up asked, like, are you a lesbian? Are you bi? And she's just like, and she avoids it in a way. She's like, I have to be a little bit political about it because I don't want to alienate anyone. And obviously she, gets beyond that later in her career, but it's funny to say that in an interview that is ostensibly about this song, where it just, you're right. It seems very clear what, that she's writing from personal experience here. And that's exactly what this is about.
Yeah, for sure. This song is just like a front to back banger. I don't even really know where else to start. With the lyrics and whatnot.
There's the particular verse that I liked was where it sort of goes at which again, this gets into the about sexuality, the idea that she's like, a sister, am I good enough for your heaven? Will your God accept me in my black and white? Will he approve the way I'm made? Or should I reprogram, deprogram, and get down? This idea of like going straight at and it's, she was raised very in a religious household. She talks about still like praying before meals and is very familiar with the conservatism that comes with that. And I think is making a pretty pointed attack at the idea that someone would say that, God thinks that you should be a different way. Well, that's the way that I'm made. And I liked that as a piece of the song.
Yeah, that whole verse is really exceptional and really cutting in a lot of ways. I mean, the verse starts off with, "Hey brother, can you save my soul from the devil?" Just like kind of going right for the throat at the beginning.
Yeah. The other big feature, or the big feature of the song, is the bridge with Erykah Badu. And she's another classic R&B artist, big influence on Janelle's music, I'm sure. But she's also featured in the music video where she plays a character named Badula Oblongata, which I thought was pretty great.
Incredible, honestly.
Yeah. And I mean, the music video, actually, we should talk about the video a little bit, because it's kind of a cool setup. It is set in this sort of museum of rebels, I think it's called, which has these sort of frozen in time versions of Janelle herself and the Deep Cotton guys and Erykah Badu, and it talks about them like being, are they time traveling? I can't remember if they're time traveling or they've been stopped from time traveling, which is like a central thing of Afrofuturism, which is obviously kind of at an idea, a school of literature, movies, thought that is super prevalent on this record as well. But it's just the visuals, like any Janelle Monáe video, are great, incredible dancing, and then just the way that all of these characters kind of come to life throughout the video is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I feel like this ties like pretty directly into the story of the record, because the two people who come in, one of whom puts on the record, which activates everybody in the room from their kind of stoppage in time, their stasis. I forget what the lady at the beginning of the music video says, but I forgot to mention at the end of Giving Them What They Love, there's we have a kind of big story moment where we talk about these two tens who walk in to talk to kind of our core characters here, the Wonderland folks, and I wonder if the two characters in this video who bring in the record are in fact supposed to be those two women who walk in, because they seem to be rebels too in this context. So time is wibbly wobbly in this case, since there is time travel involved. But yeah,
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, but again, really stellar video. I absolutely love the Skull record player, which does come back in the I think it's the Dance Apocalyptic video. But yeah, just honestly, or no, it's the Electric Lady video, I think. The one with the sorority house. But anyway, I absolutely love this video. It is super cool, and has a tag too, where they kind of go along the story of them after they escape from containment, as it were.
Right, which is then used as just a trailer for the album.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the song ends with another rap verse, which is pretty great too. Which kind of builds up to this idea of, will you be electric sheep, electric ladies, will you sleep, or will you preach? Which is sort of the call to action at the end of the song that leads into the title track from the album.
Yeah, for sure. I love that the bridge that kind of leads into that, Janelle just straight up comes out and says, "Yeah, I don't know if they quite get it. Let's try something a little different. Let's flip it." Which is just an incredible lead into this. Also, the line, "I'm tired of Marvin asking me what's going on," is just incredible. Says a lot in a very short space. Janelle is great at that. I love it.
And this embodying this transition from a passive thinking about the world to an active resistance is it's a great way to express that.
Yeah, exactly.
The next up is the title track, Electric Lady, featuring Solange. Another song that is just straight up about female empowerment, about living by your own rules. Like you said, kind of these three songs really are the thesis, the backbone. This first sort of act of the album, I think, is all built around, I think all the ideas are here in these songs.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. The transitions between these songs, it should be noted, are unsurprisingly, seamless. Just incredible. There were times, like the first couple times I listened to this record after not listening for a while, I did not realize we had transitioned between these three songs on several occasions. It's just that good.
I like the reference to the classic kind of crazy, which is an idea that she will bring up on a great song on Dirty Computer, which feels like it kind of starts there. I don't have anything like really specific about this song. I like the vibe of it a lot. It just feels like her doing what she does best. This like catchy, funky, kind of like her take on what R&B should be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the chorus on this song, or the hook as it's specified on Genius, it's both a chorus and a hook. That's just the way it is sometimes. It's so incredibly catchy. The background vocals are just impeccable. I like that we get like kind of a Prince reference shuffled in here. You got the look the gods agree they want to see is just like a slight nod to the song You Got the Look, which is great. Yeah, I don't know. Like this is a classic Janelle Monáe track. Like there's no notes, honestly, is kind of how it is.
Yeah. Yep.
I do want to say about the music video, I love that they throw in an 8-track of the song into the car on the way to the party, which is just beautiful.
The way that the video kind of mashes up timelines and technologies to not really be clear when it takes place is pretty fun.
Oh yeah, it's great because there's a straight up smartphone in that video as I remember it. But the car is a classic car and has an 8-track player. We get the Skull record player again. I think this kind of disconnection from time obviously it's very intentional, but I think it's really well executed. Yeah.
Then you got the first sort of interlude on the album is this Good Morning Midnight interlude, which is just the skit of this DJ Crash talking to callers to this radio station about fighting back against droid control and sort of the beginning of Cindy's rebellion. Most of the like world building happens in these little skits and interludes. I don't know that there's like a ton to say about them, but they're just any story, like Metropolis story that is built up in this record is really in these little interludes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think what they are doing here really well is just kind of emphasizing the fact that like these songs exist in this world. And I think that kind of lends itself to the like kind of more personal nature of the album, because like the songs, like the non-interlude songs, do feel way more like they are just like written to exist in a world. Like they're not specifically about Metropolis, not all the time, at least, in the same way that, you know, not every song, you know, here is written about like a specific, you know, storyline going on in any given person's life. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. You get what I mean, though.
No, yeah, the idea that the denizens of any sci-fi world are at any given time going to be just like thinking about their lives and their relationships and stuff, and they're going to be, you know, creating art that is about that and not like about the state of the world or about the, you know, they're not world building for themselves in the world that they already know. I like that. I like that as a sort of connective tissue thing and a sort of explanation of why the album is the way it is. That makes sense.
Yeah. And sometimes people are just sitting at home listening to 105.5 WDRD. It's great.
Great name for a radio station.
Yeah. 105.5 was one of the pop stations back in Crystal Lake. I have a hard time separating this from that. But then we get to Primetime.
Yeah. Primetime rocks. This is like a straight up power ballad, slow jam. In terms of the story, this is Miguel, who's featured on the track, plays in the song and in the video Cindy's first love, this character named Joey Weiss. This is like a real vocal showcase for Janelle. Not that the rest of the album isn't, but I really hear it in this one. And I think this chorus is like incredibly catchy.
Oh my God, yeah. The when we get to the harmonization on the kind of later chorus, it just like it sets itself on fire like in a really great way. This song is just like impeccably put together.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Miguel's work at all? I didn't really know him at all before this.
I know a song, or I know I've heard a song or two. I am not deeply familiar with his catalog though.
Yeah, I saw an interview where she was asked about, how the song came together, and she was drawn to him because of his single "Adorn," which I listened to today. Is like a pretty solid R&B song, I think. Just it's very, you can tell that it is not as like organic as a lot of Janelle Monáe's stuff is, with the way that she has like her live band playing, if that makes sense. Not that that's to take anything away from it. It's a good song, but but she really liked how he would self-release EPs and mixtapes even while like being on a major label, and had this like direct fan connection that she wanted, strived for with her own fan base as well. So I thought that made sense as to why they come together for this. And I think he does a great job on this song too. It's a really solid duet. I love in the music video that he is wearing a Ministry and like Fat Records jacket, which is like,
I know, right?
the funniest like expression of like, oh, this guy's a real punk. He's a real outsider. He likes Fat Records.
This guy's a rebel.
Could not get enough of that.
That is a definite highlight of the video for me specifically.
Yeah. It's a great song though. This was a single. It makes sense. It's like a third single. Like here's slightly less of a banger, but still a song that you could see getting some radio play.
Oh yeah, I'm amazed that this song didn't chart, honestly, because it feels like a ripe candidate for that. I do like that like kind of spoken bit that happens where Janelle specifically says, "But tonight I don't want to be mysterious with you," which feels like fourth wall breaking in a weird way, just because of like the kind of persona that's been built up around Cindy Mayweather in particular, but also around Janelle Monáe herself.
Right, and this album feels so much more
feels like a turn to
than...
camera moment.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
After that is We Were Rock and Roll, which, despite the title, is like a disco and soul tune about remembering sort of the heights of a relationship and comparing it to the cultural impact of rock and roll, which I liked. I think this is a jam. It really picks the album back up. Not that Primetime brought it down in any way, except for tempo. But this is a really good tune.
Yeah, we really kick back into gear on this one. I like this song quite a bit. The bass line on this song is absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
and I love it. We get another direct shout out to Kalindo Parker. Always love to hear that. Asking him to help us sing it louder. There's a lyrical turn right at the beginning where we go from "I remember around autumn time," few lines, to "I remember the smell of guns. War lived in me, but love finally won." Like that is such an intense opening to this song, and it doesn't quite linger on that intensity too much, but it does feel. I feel reflections of it throughout the song. It's a good one.
Yeah, that's a great lyric. I also like the sort of sister lyric in the second verse when it's you were 21, thought we owned the sun. I thought that was just a really good expression of that idea of this. Like I said, this memory of the most intense moments of this relationship.
Yeah.
Then after that, we get another interlude, The Chrome Shop, which is basically just a commercial announcing the Cyber Freak Festival, which is sounds like something pretty awesome.
Yeah, it sounds great. I love that we have a bouncing electro booty contest, an atomic kissing contest, and much, much more.
I don't think I would fare well in either of those contests, probably.
No, I would do poorly. But no, I do like that we like kind of get a direct, like all these interludes kind of have direct references to like, hey, you better not fuck with Cindy Mayweather. But this one, they just explicitly say, no bounty hunters allowed. Bring your punk ass up here looking for Cindy Mayweather. You might get hurt. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Yep. And then it ends with sort of an introduction to Dance Apocalyptic, which was the second single from this record and is, I think, my favorite song on this album by like kind of a wide margin. This starts off with ukulele and has like a pretty unique arrangement as far as this album goes, and is just an absolute like bop of a song. It's so catchy. I'm not a dancer, and it makes me want to dance.
Oh yeah, no, it is. it's one of those songs that like worms its way into you and like makes you move whether you like it or not. Like there's just kind of no two ways about it.
Yeah, and it just kept surprising me. Every different part of the song, I don't know, it just kept going places that I didn't expect, while hanging on to this incredible chorus. There's a lot of really cool guitar work. There's some amazing organ playing going on in this one. This was, like I said, it's a real highlight.
Yeah, it's one of those songs that like is clearly drawing on a lot of disparate influences. Like we start off with the ukulele. We get references to a Juicy J song. Like right out the gate. The Bands Maker Wanna Dance is like kind of almost directly pulled from the song Bands Maker Dance, which I love. We get kind of the like girl group kind of call and response happening in the chorus. It's such an incredibly catchy song.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, this also has a great music video, which they're performing in a TV studio, and there's these like breaking news interstitials about plagues and zombies and the apocalypse, and Janelle is like talking. She's like giving the report from Atlanta, and then gets there's a zombie in the TV studio. And then they are like smashing their instruments and getting on motorcycles whose riders are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which I think is like an idea from Good Omens, the Neil Gaiman book, not to cite a very unsavory person, but I think that's what that's from. Either way, it's a great
out. Yeah,
it's a great idea. And I really love this video.
Yeah, the video, I had never seen the video prior to watching it for this, and I was taken aback by the breaking news moments, and then the ending was just like kind of the thing that took it over the top. The costuming is incredible in the video too, like maybe even more so than any of the other videos, which is saying a lot.
I think so. Like she always obviously puts a lot into the fashion and the presentation and the costumes, but yeah, I think it's kind of it feels like they put the most in. I mean, not that they didn't put effort into the other ones, but they put the most kind of like into this video, just in the sense that this was the one that was coming out, I think, when they announced the album. I think Queen was like a pre-announcement single, and this was when the album was announced. Yes. This was the single that came with it, so this was the one that probably had the most eyes on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I think another thing that I really love about this song, it is not particularly surprising given the title of the song, but just this real like juxtaposition of these like dire things going on, and then also just abject silliness. Like the kind of core theme of the song is, well, the world's ending. We might as well dance about it. Who cares? We all care. We all care deeply, but also we got to keep ourselves sane somehow.
Yeah, and you can dance against the end of the world in a sense.
Yeah. But I think maybe one of the most exemplary moments of that is the kind of spoken outro that happens before the android voice at the close, which is just ain't no order in this courtroom. You all going to jail.
Yeah, it's great.
Just like kind of offhand, like you guys, come on.
Yeah. All right. Next up is "Look Into My Eyes," the final track of Suite 4, which is and ends this part of the record on sort of a seductive, intimate ballad with a lot of Latin rhythms. What do you think of this one?
I like this one quite a bit. It reminds me a lot of Sir Greenwood from the ArchAndroid.
Green Down.
Green Down. Jeez, I wrote down the name wrong in my notes. I gotta remember to say people's names right. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of Sir Green Down and just like vibe and arrangement. It feels like it is a pretty distinct callback to that song in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and it's like hypnotizing. It's this, it's a very romantic song, obviously, and it is leaning into this idea that this is, to me at least, it feels like an album about these very personal experiences of these relationships. In android or human, it doesn't really matter that the seduction, the intensity of the feeling is the same. Yeah.
This is also there's a couple of, at least in the kind of back half of this record, inclusive of this song, This is one of the times where we kind of get like direct references to like hypnosis, like influencing people via, whatever means you may have at your disposal, which I found to be like an interesting and kind of weirdly standout theme for this record to have included in its kind of greater arsenal of tools.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Then on to Suite 5 with the second electric overture, which does this one kind of has movements more so than the other overtures, where it literally takes pieces of Look Into My Eyes, then does kind of a jazzy version of Dance Apocalyptic, which is cool, and then segues into the themes from its code.
Yeah, this one's really cool. For a second, I thought we were going to just like go backwards through every track in Suite 4.
Could have been cool.
That it would have been cool, but it would have also probably made this one a lot longer. I think this suite is pretty neat. Especially because it does do that like look back and then immediate look forward as well. I also like that we have like what appear to be kind of artificial bird sounds before we hit one of those transitions, which is very in line with, kind of electric people and whatnot. I don't know. That was just a fun little touch.
Yeah. As before we kind of get into all the songs on the second half of the record, do you prefer Suite 4 or Suite 5? Do you have a feeling about if do they feel more of a piece, less of a piece than say the two halves of ArchAndroid?
They definitely feel more of a piece with each other than, at least like sonically, than I think the ArchAndroid did with its two suites. I think I have a mild preference for Suite 4 just because some of the like catchiest songs on the record are in that section. This, like, by and large, this half of the record feels like even more deeply personal than the first half, which is saying a lot. I think some great songs are on this half, but if I had to pick, Suite 4 is probably my mild preference.
Yeah, I agree with that. I all my favorite parts of this album are on Suite 4, and it's both albums have, both ArchAndroid and this have this kind of the first suite on each album feels very very well thought out and very intentional in its ordering and its sequencing and its composition and everything, and also that's where the hits are. And then suite the second suite on each record feels a little more exploratory, a little more sprawling, a little more experimental. And sometimes that stuff works for me, sometimes it doesn't. I think it works better overall on this album. I mean, there's no Make the Bus on this album for sure.
Sure, yeah.
But I just wanted to hit on that generally a little bit before we get into all the rest of these songs. Starting with It's Code, which is a sort of slower jam, a pretty funky song about ending a relationship and then regretting it when you see that person out with someone else. But it's this idea that like I guess the emotion, the love, or whatever is programmed into you, whether as an android, I guess, or maybe just your brain chemistry seems like you have no other choice.
Yeah, I like this song a lot. I don't want to think in the year 2026 of the common era about whether or not if AI develops feelings, are they really feelings? That is not a thing I want to contend with right now, but unfortunately it is presented here in a way. But I mean it is integral to the fiction that the character Cindy Mayweather is kind of thinking about this kind of thing, because we talked a lot on the last episode about like her contending with the fact that she is an android and like what that does and doesn't mean, and what parts of that have been projected on her by society and what parts of those are actually true. And that, I think that's like very directly addressed here, in so far that it says, yeah, it's code, but it doesn't make it less real. It doesn't make my feelings any less real, even if they are coming from a different place than human feelings do.
Yeah, and then taking that a step further, like, what is the human brain except an extremely advanced computer?
Oh yeah, for sure. It is a thing that I am often faced with and don't want to think too hard about.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Then after that we get Ghetto Woman, which is a song that is, very much an ode to, well, Janelle's mother specifically, but really all Black working class women who have inspired Janelle and inspired the sort of themes of this album. This idea of empowerment and this idea of your, the work that you do, the effort that you put in, being really significant and meaningful, and really, like, whatever she says, like, the women of the world gaining their superpowers and stuff like that. It's kind of all in this song, but it gets into very specific stories and how those connect to the themes of the record.
Yeah. This song really hits. It is when I talk about like deeply personal songs on this half of the record, this is the one that I think about first. I really love the kind of set of lines. I wish they could just realize all you ever needed was someone to free your mind. Carry on, Ghetto Woman. You're the seventh wonder reigning over us at night. Like, that is just a really, like, those images being juxtaposed together is like just a like really powerful image. Like, there is nothing about you as a person that is stopping you from being this incredible force in the world. It is only outside forces that are enacting this bullshit upon you that make you feel like you can't. I realize that is very loaded, and like, rising above your circumstances is not, in fact, an easy thing to do. Like, it is not simply freeing your mind. Like, there's a lot more that goes into it than that. But I do love the sentiment. I think that it is like, I think it's very empowering to look at it that way in a lot of ways.
Right. And I like that it, just in terms of looking at what she has cited as influences on her career, her music, her life, that it's both, she's both looking up to like these visionary, some of the most, I don't know what the Steve Jobs types of the world, I guess, but then also at people in her own community where she grew up and is finding, inspiration. She's the reason I'm even writing this song. You're the reason I believe in me, in all these different, seemingly disparate, disconnected aspects of the world. And she's drawing on all of them.
Yeah.
I think it's a great song. I think this is the highlight of the back half of the album for me.
I would definitely agree with that, with the possible exception of the closer. But yeah, I think if I had to pick one, this would be it. Like, this is a song that I find myself coming back to, just like thinking about when I think about this record. I do want to point out that musically, there's this really, really cool guitar lead happening behind the chant after the bridge, which like just goes into this very ripping guitar solo. So like naturally I love that too. But I really think like I think the lyrics are like truly what shine here, and everything else is like just kind of a nice extra treat.
Right. Yeah, it is truly probably her best writing on this album. Then next up we have Our Favorite Fugitive, which is the interludes. And this one is like a radio call-in segment with DJ Crash and people calling in talking about really just about Cindy's relationship and whether it's okay and whether it's what droid, like, the nature of droid human love, and if that is queer or if that is something that should be accepted or not. It's kind of about just how people sort of on the street perceive others that they see as different.
Yeah, and like, yeah, we just kind of get three different forms of god awful prejudice happening in this song. The first person just being a straight up like outright bigot, Another person who's like maybe a little more like coming at it from a religious angle, who like, you know, who brings up the question of whether or not Cindy Mayweather is the ArchAndroid, because again we're in a prequel right now story wise, however much that means in a time hopping situation. But yeah, then the final one we get is that robot love is queer, which is, it's interesting to hear that 13 years later, because like when I hear like just a guy on an album yelling robot love is queer, I'm like, I can't tell if he means that in a derogatory way or not, because that, like, I think more so than in 2013, I feel like that that word has been reclaimed by the community at large in a lot of ways. Like I am saying that word out loud right now. I probably wouldn't have in 2013, because it was at the time still fairly derogatory when used by, you know, a certain subset of the population. But yeah, it was just kind of a weird thing to look at, like in terms of like how certain things age. And I'm not like saying that is aged poorly, because like the intent is still very clear given DJ Crash's response to that. But which you know, of course naturally he turns it around and does, don't know how you would know if you haven't tried it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this interlude is outside of its place in the Cindy Mayweather story, is another one of these moments on the record that's pretty clearly like a commentary on people speculating about Janelle's sexuality. And,
oh yeah,
you know, there's again not really hidden at all, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, but then back into the album, we get Victory, which is another pretty relaxed song, like a lot of the second half of both this album and ArchAndroid are. But it's a song about perseverance and perspective, and it's one, like the liner note for this one is inspired by the life and times of Janelle Monáe, which is, you know, it's kind of like, what was the one on, there was a similar one on ArchAndroid as well that was just like, this is just my story, and this is how I see myself and how I have found like the inspiration to be the person that I am.
Yeah. And like in an album that is about, you know, empowerment and self-actualization, like having this chorus that is, you know, simply to be victorious, you must find the glory in the little things, is like that is a statement that would almost feel saccharine, but like really doesn't. Like this feels like a thing that a lot of people need to hear who are like really earnestly giving it their all to make the world a better place. And I get the impression that that's the kind of person Janelle Monáe is. So
yeah, and I mean, she can sell like the most basic lyric as a profound thing with her voice. Again, that is kind of one of the powers that she has. Yeah,
I you know, kind of staying on the chorus here, I do love the way that it is built over the course of the song. You know, we get two choruses in a row at the end, which happened on another song on this record, and I forgot to point it out. But here, you know, we get, because to be victorious, you must find the glory in the little things. Repeat. Then we add a couple of lines on the second iteration, and then we do a new set of lines on the final iteration. And I've said many times on this show, I love when people do that, but I think it's really excellently deployed here.
Yeah, it also feels like you can tie this back to some of her gospel upbringing as well.
Oh, for
learning
sure.
to sing in church, and that's a clear influence on a song like this.
No question, yeah.
Next up is Can't Live Without Your Love, another softer song, but a little jazzier. It's great guitar playing in this one. A song about longing for someone. I mean, this is, I guess this is already, the Anthony Greendown character is already involved at this point. I don't really know where this is sitting at in the timeline by this time.
I couldn't help you there. Sorry.
I don't know that it really matters.
No. Yeah, this song has a really like that opening line of "Take me, take my letters, take my photos, take the sun" is such a strong statement to start it off with, and then to turn into "You can take my heart because I ain't gonna need it on the run." which kind of does place us squarely back in the story where we are, trying to escape from the government, as it were. But yeah, like you said, the guitar on this song is incredible. I really love the first part of the bridge where the guitar is following the vocals, and then later on kind of like disconnects to do this kind of like contrapuntal thing. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah. The later, like the sort of later bridge in the song uses the love is patient, love is kind Bible, this oft quoted Bible verse that was in our wedding, which was nice. It was cool to see that there. I mean, not that it's like a thing you don't see often or anything, but I just noted that.
Yeah, no, it's a really good invocation of that feeling, especially because it turns from it's phrased as they say love is patient, love is kind, love ain't never did a thing to mine. And like, yeah, it feels like, despite starting it with they say, like, it doesn't feel like we're trying to contradict that. It is more so I need to believe this.
Trying to convince myself that it's still true despite being apart from my person.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up is Sally Ride, which is a tribute to the astronaut Sally Ride herself, who passed away right around the time that this album was being written. This song is out there. It's very, I mean, I can't say spacey because it's about an astronaut, but
you could say that though if you wanted
to. But it's very ethereal and kind of moves between a couple of different like hooks and chants, and there's a lot in terms of like effects and compositional stuff going on in this one. It's probably the most out there song stylistically on this record.
Yeah, I don't think it quite like crosses into the psychedelic territory that the back half of the ArchAndroid did, but I definitely see what you're talking about. It is much more. It feels outside of the like kind of sonic palette that we've encountered so far, even given how different the back half of this record sounds in the fifth suite here.
Yeah, and I guess this song feels important in the sense that it is a tribute to a great person, and it's who, Sally Ride, a pioneer in her field as an astronaut, and her private life as a bisexual woman. Like, this is the kind of figure that it makes sense that Janelle Monáe would write a song for. It is, by this point in this record, like ArchAndroid, a very long album. I am like, yeah. I kind of respect the song more than I really like it on the album. I could have left this on as a B-side probably.
I can kind of see that. Like, it feels in line with what we're going for thematically on the album. But I think sonically it's pulled far enough out that I could see it, getting kind of the B-side status and that being totally fine.
Yeah,
I feel like it is included because, Janelle, especially in the context of the story that she's trying to tell here, feels a deep kinship with Sally Ride. But, that's whether or not that makes it make the album, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, if there ever was an electric lady, it was Sally Ride. Like, that's
for sure.
It's very clearly the influence, or the influence there.
Yeah.
And then after that, you get Dorothy Dandridge Eyes, the penultimate track on the record. This one's featuring Esperanza Spalding, the incredible jazz bassist and vocalist. I don't think she plays bass on this song. I think she just sings on it.
I had to double check the credits, and she does not play bass on this song, which I guess is not that surprising because it would be much wilder if she did.
Yeah, but it really does groove. It's musically really cool song, great guitar solo, and again, another Dorothy Dandridge, another person that it makes sense for this album to pay tribute to, the first African American woman nominated for Best Actress. It just pairs with a song to attribute to Sally Ride in terms of highlighting various women's achievements and activism and, I guess, electricity.
Yeah, for sure. We get another kind of moment of guitar following vocals, like 1-to-1 under Esperanza Spalding's verse, and then we hit when she and Janelle are harmonizing, and that's just like sends me to the moon, if you'll pardon the phrase in this particular context. It's this song like really like, again, another collaboration that feels like it was, written in the stars or something, because it just works so well.
Yeah, I think this awesome chorus. This is one of those ones that like I like this as a late album track. It works much better for me than the previous couple songs do.
Yeah, I totally get that.
But yeah, then we get to the closing track, which is What an Experience, which is just kind of joyous, but also reflective 80s style power ballad to end the album. This just once again feels like, let's end this record with a genre turn that is entirely unexpected and not something that is really touched on anywhere else on the album.
Yeah. We spend quite a bit of this like first verse just like with vocals, synths, and snaps, like this really minimal arrangement, but then the drums kick in on Babe I Can't Wait, and then we're just kind of running that way through the rest of the song. But like, yeah, we have this big genre turn, and then we have another big genre turn about halfway through the song when we hit I'm gonna admit something very embarrassing here. Took me several listens to realize how direct of a tribute to UB40 that bridge is. I was just like, this is kind of like a reggae ska feel, and then I was like, this is literally a interpolation of Red Red Wine, isn't it? It totally is.
Yeah.
But it's a really like well executed turn for how like hard of a left turn it is, and I think it works super well.
Yeah, I just, in terms of mood, like it really ends this album on a very light note. Almost, I mean, the buzzing in your mind of a good red wine, I guess, is kind of the feeling she's trying to evoke, I think, on this song. And this album has a very interesting balance of heaviness and lightness in terms of its subject matter, which is fitting for the themes, fitting for the time that it's made in, for Janelle Monáe's own like sort of experience of the world and sort of perspective on the world, I think. But it comes together in this song in interesting ways.
It definitely does. Like it is a. I don't want this to sound. I don't want this to sound judgmental. It feels a little navel-gazy in a way. Like we're looking back at everything we've done thus far, and even the bad stuff doesn't seem that bad because it got us where we are right now. Like the central emotion of this song is what an experience. Like taking everything together. Isn't this just one kind of wonderful in a weird way? And like I don't think that's an invalid feeling at all. Time does heal a lot of wounds, as it turns out, but yeah, just kind of given the rest of this album, it does feel like it's wrapping up kind of neatly in a way, in I guess kind of a way that only the passage of time can make it feel like, regardless of how heavy or light anything felt in a given moment.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to sum it up. Yeah, so that's the end of the album. We didn't talk about really this album's place in the Metropolis story. So this is once again adding 2 additional extra empty circles on the front cover to say that there presumably will at some point be Suites 6 and 7 to finish off this series. Spoiler alert, the following 2 Janelle Monáe records are not Metropolis suites, and so the story is unfinished right now. And correct. I'm curious where this will go. I don't know that I have like speculation or anything, but I'm every time she has a new record coming out, I feel like we're going to be wondering like, is this going to be the time when she picks up Cindy Mayweather's story again?
Yeah, I'm interested to see when that happens, because I like if she had no intention of finishing this story, I feel like we would have heard about that by now.
Maybe not.
Maybe I don't know, or maybe mysteriously from all DSPs, those extra 2 circles will disappear from the Electric Lady, and this is just it, man. Sorry,
can't change my CD case. I'll always know.
It's true. this is a thing I worry about constantly in our digital world, where everything is kind of ephemeral. Is that stuff like that will happen, but like you said, can't change a CD case.
Yeah. But we have some B-sides to talk about too.
Yes.
So there is a Target edition of this record that has some bonus tracks, some remixes, but most significantly, it includes the song Hell You Talking About, which is sort of two different songs and worth talking about. So the song and its legacy.
Yes.
So the song that's on the Target edition of the album is it feels like a B-side to The Electric Lady. It's a groovy tune. It's about, life in the ghetto and dreaming of getting out. Like that's, it's just seems like the kind of thing she was interested in talking about on this record with something like Ghetto Woman and a few other songs. It's a pretty good song. I don't know. Before we get into the different versions of it, I guess you just listened to this right before we started recording.
Yeah. For anyone who's not on this call, which I guess is all of you, I listened to the 2015 version of this song, which is the version that I am familiar with. Which this song does, in the form that it's presented on the Target, who famously dropped DEI programs the second it was acceptable for them to do so. Just saying that out loud. This song, like as it's presented on the bonus track version of this record, like does touch on the subject of police violence and state sanctioned violence against Black folks and other people of color in the United States and abroad in a lot of ways. I did not know this version of this song existed because I was aware of the version that came out in 2015, which is strictly about state-sanctioned violence against Black folks in America, which is a song I listened to a couple times prior to this call, and had a lot of almost falling down on the couch crying moments about.
Yeah, it's if you haven't heard it, you should. All listeners out there, pause this and go listen to the song. It is a list of names, a chanted list of names of people who have been killed by police in America, and it is incredibly moving. And I encountered it first as part of David Byrne's American Utopia. He does a cover of it. He called it one of the most moving political songs he's ever heard, and I agree with him. It's an amazing part of that show, that movie. And I didn't even realize that Janelle Monáe had written it until I was doing research for this. And there's a couple different versions of it. There's a 17-minute version of it released in 2021, which is just absolutely fucked up that they just have to keep adding more names to this song. But this is kind of, the more I think about it, like this song is really kind of the great legacy of the Electric Lady era, I think.
Yeah, for sure. This song is the 2015 version of the song and subsequently the 2021 Say Her Name, Hell You Talking About. I keep stumbling trying to find the right words because like it is such a simple presentation of this just incredibly impactful thing. I think
it's honestly it's honestly not something that two like white guys like us are really equipped to talk about. Like you really just have to go experience it.
Yeah, you should go listen to it. It is the delivery of the names as they are sung, yelled, spoken in the song is particularly impactful. Like it is the emotion is palpable in the recording. And
then there's a couple other songs that came out in the couple years following this record, between this and ArchAndroid. There is What Is Love, a contribution to the Rio 2 soundtrack, a movie I have not seen, but this is a real like peppy celebratory love song influenced by the Brazilian music of the movie setting. It's just a fun one.
Yeah,
in contrast
it
to
sounds
what we
like,
were just talking about.
It sounds very much like a it sounds like weirdly like kind of this era, just without all of the like groundedness in reality that any other love song from Janelle Monáe of this era is going to have, like this kind of tinge of something that like kind of pulls you back into like maybe everything's not always good all the time. This one's just like, no, we're having fun here. It's cool. Love is great.
Yeah. And then there's a David Bowie cover of Heroes. It makes sense for her to cover Bowie, obviously. Another genre bending, personally fascinating figure in the history of music who also made sci-fi concept records. It just fits. This one is part of a visual album compilation for the 2014 World Cup. But I imagine this is a thing she'd probably been wanting to do for a while, and this was a good opportunity to do it.
Yeah, on Pepsi's dime, no less.
Right, yeah. And then the last thing I think we should talk about from this era is Yoga, which comes from an EP called Wonderland Presents the Ephus, which is a compilation of all the various Wonderland collective artists that they all contributed to. And this is a sort of hip-hop trap style tune, very different from anything on the Electric Lady. I can only call this extraordinarily horny because it is.
It is.
But yeah, it was her first single to chart in the U.S. as a lead artist. Obviously, she was, had a number one hit with "We Are Young" featuring with Fun. But this is her first time on the charts, which is kind of crazy considering how great a lot of the singles were from this record and from ArchAndroid.
Yeah, but the people want to let their booty do that yoga. Sorry, that was unnecessary. No, like this song is great. I gotta be real with you. I see why it was a hit. But yeah, it is just absolutely the horniest thing that Janelle Monáe has put out thus far at this point in her career. She will top it. That was the wrong way to phrase that. But she will top it later on in her career. In fact, very soon, one might say. I don't know. Like it's a wild track. I do love some 808s, and this song has a lot of them. A lot of bouncing going on in this song, just generally speaking.
Yeah, I'm like just sort of inherently less interested in some of the musical directions of this song than what she's doing on the record, but it's it makes sense. This was a style of hip hop that was very in at the time. And she and Jidenna, who's the other sort of co-artist on this one, do a really good version of it. Yeah,
for sure. It is very of its time in a way that the Electric Lady was striving not to be. But I still think it really works. Because yeah, like you said, it's an incredibly well executed version of kind of what was going on in hip hop at the time.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts on the Electric Lady era?
I kind of wish I'd say this a lot on this show, generally speaking. I wish I'd given this record its due more in its time. But I'm really, really glad to get the chance to revisit it and kind of appreciate it more deeply. Because this really this feels like a big step forward for Janelle's career. And we'll get to Dirty Computer next week, which is an even bigger step forward in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Agreed on all counts. All right. You got a random recommendation for this week?
I do. This week I want to recommend something that might be more niche than I necessarily want it to be, but whatever, who cares? I've been listening to a lot of it lately. I'm going to recommend a podcast. It is called No One Can Know About This, a podcast where we play every Final Fantasy. There's not a lot to say about it except for what is included in the title. It is a show where two dudes from LA, who I believe are both writers, they touch on like kind of what's going on in their careers occasionally in the show. Yeah, two dudes living in LA. The goal of the show is that they are going to play every single Final Fantasy, and basically like they go to one or the other's house, or in the case of the Final Fantasy VII series, go to a cabin in kind of like a more rural area of California, And they just like sit down and play the game and like film themselves playing it, and then they go back to the tape and talk over that so that they can create kind of like an audio experience of what it's like to play the game. There's also video out there for people who pay money for the podcast. Weirdly, I'm recommending this, but I don't pay for their Patreon. I will soon. But yeah, I have been a fan of Final Fantasy since I was a young person, and it is very fun and nostalgic to kind of revisit those games through somebody else's playthrough, especially because like these guys either like haven't played these games before or it's been a very long time. So like they don't like know these games like the back of their hand. So they make a lot of really stupid mistakes, like healing enemies and stuff like that. And there's also just some like wild other stuff they've got going on. They have a weird Orson Welles bit. A weird like Orson Welles bit that happens in the Final Fantasy IX series. There's a like alternate universe thing going on in this Final Fantasy VII series. It's just kind of magnificently weird. But yeah, no one can know about this. A podcast where we play every Final Fantasy.
Is the title a reference to something in Final Fantasy, or is the title a more of like, we are genuinely embarrassed that we are doing this as a podcast?
I don't know. I have never listened to the first series because I've never played Final Fantasy 1 all the way through. So I'll let you know once I know.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you have?
In pure like Troy fashion, I'm gonna recommend an emo band that I heard for the first time today, but really struck me. It's a band called Wave As You Go By, who just put out an EP recently called Deciding Realizing. This is an emo band from California, formed of what I can, as far as I can tell, actual fucking children. Like, the kids are all right. They put out this EP. It's really short. It's like a 10-minute long EP, 4 songs. It kind of reminds me of The Anniversary or maybe early Los Campesinos. It's very, like, warm, fuzzy emo with dual vocals, and it just sounds wonderful. It makes me warm and fuzzy, like the warm and fuzzy guitar tones.
Amazing. I am very excited to hear this. Based on that description, please send to me immediately.
Yes, I will. All right. Yeah, so we will be back next week talking about Dirty Computer. And in the meantime, you can find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com, follow us on Instagram at noisefloorpod, and send us email at noisefloorpodcast@gmail.com. We will see you next week.
See you next week.